Hello, Technology Crazy here, and I am back with lesson 5 on how to create EXE files out of batch files. So please stay tuned and enjoy. If you guys haven't checked out my previous 4 tutorials on how to program in batch, I highly suggest you guys go and check it out. Links will be in the description. It was about a year ago that I started making these batch tutorials, and I didn't intend it to be a big series. I intended it to be actually fairly small, but I got such a good response that I ended up making 3 more episodes, and I got so many emails that I decided, you know what, it's really time to continue the series. So today we're going to be looking at how to program in batch, and more importantly, we're going to be looking at how to convert batch files into EXEs, and I have a few more lessons planned out, so please stay tuned for that. Anyways, let's convert some batch files here. So the reason why you're going to want to convert files is, let's say you have a finished batch file and you want to share it with a community or a friend, but you don't want them to open up the batch file and either look at the code or maybe even edit the code. You can convert it into an EXE, an executable file, and that way people can just simply right click on it and say edit and look at your code and then edit it. Executable files are actually what most programs use. For example, here I have uTorrent. If I right click on it, go to properties, you can see that the program is actually uTorrent.exe, so it's a compiled EXE file or executable file, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So we have my simple batch program here. It simply says hi and then bye and then closes. Perfect. So let's go and download this application from the links in the description. It's called bat to exe converter, and it's a nice little GUI converter. So it converts batch files into EXEs. So here we can choose our batch file right here, choose what we want to save it as. Here we can choose a few different options. So for example, if you want to keep the application visible, so if you want it to show up on the screen, you can say visible, or you can have it invisible, running in the background so that CMD window doesn't pop up. You can also choose the working directory from either the current directory or the temporary directory. We can choose to delete temporary files on exit, or we can leave them. We can encrypt this program with a password, so they'll need a password to run it. You can choose this box right here. And basically what this says, they have a pop-up saying, do you want to run this program as administrator? And then you can press yes. Sometimes you need code that needs to be run as administrator to have elevated privileges, and this is where that part comes in. We'll leave it on just for this example. You can overwrite existing files, and you can add a decompiler. Go over to include here. This is actually a cool feature. We can actually include other programs or files inside our batch file. So let's say we wanted one batch file that extracts a whole bunch of files on your desktop. You can actually include all those files here, and then your batch file can actually put it on the desktop. Or let's say you wanted a program that calls, let's say, a really fancy shutdown command, but that shutdown command is only on your computer, and you want to give this program to everyone else. You don't want to go and say, here's a batch file, you need to download this program and put it in this directory for it to work. You can simply include that fancy shutdown command inside this, and then your batch program can actually use that. If that doesn't make sense, you can just play around with it. Here we can change the version informations, apparently, and the icon file. So here I have a simple icon .ico file on my desktop. If you want to make an ICO, you can simply go and Google it on the web. You can make PNGs into ICOs really easily. It's basically the standard icon file format. If we go to program settings here, we can change language, or we can change all our settings back to the default settings. And all the settings are stored in this settings file that is right beside your bat.exe converter. So next time you open it up, it'll remember that you're which program you're converting to, and it'll keep all your settings the same, so you don't have to set them up every single time. Anyways, if we press compile here, it will compile our program onto the desktop. You can see right here, test 1, and you can see that little bit of administrative, that shield there. So if you open it up, it'll say, do you want this program to make changes to your computer? Basically, it's saying, do you want this program to run as administrator? So we can press yes, and that's due to this little check mark right here. Here it says hi, bye, and then closes. So if we right click on this, we edit in Notepad, you can see that this thing is definitely not readable. You can't change it, you can't look at it, you can't even see any variables. If I were to look at your variables, so let's say you have a password variable which is not very secure, I can take programs and extract this and kind of monitor this EXE, and I can actually find your variables. So it's not 100% secure, but the standard user will not be able to read any of your coding. They definitely will not be able to convert EXEs back into batch files. Now that's cool and everything, but here on Technology Crazy we like to take things a step further. So I actually did some searching, and I found a much cooler program too that allows you to convert batches files into EXE files, and it does it pretty fancily. So here we have advanced batch to exe converter. version 2.83, and I'll have links in the description. Basically, this is a converter as well as a compiler and a editor, so you can actually edit your batch code inside this program, and then it will export it to EXEs. And the cool thing about this is it allows you to add some extra commands into your batch programs that are not normally natively inside Windows. So for example, let's make a simple batch program here that browses for, let's use this command right here. So this one will allow you to use the Windows dialog to browse for a folder, and then it will store it in the variable result. So let's insert that cmd command, or it's not really a cmd command, it's a custom command. And here we can do echo, and let's echo that result just like that, and let's pause. So now if we save this as a batch file, like that, save it, and then we execute, or we save it exe file here, test.exe, overwrite it, sure. And here we have the same options. We can run it as administrator, run it invisible, version, embedded files, passwords, icons, everything the same as the other program basically. And here we can build exe. So here it is right there. And if I run it, you can see here it asks us for a folder, and I can select any folder. For example, let's choose my contacts folder, press OK. You can see that it actually stores that under this variable right here. So it adds some extra commands. It takes cmd2 or batch files to the extreme. I know you can only go so far with batch files, but it's a cool program. I highly suggest you guys going in and checking it out. Not only does it give you cool commands, it also allows you to build some GUI programs too. And I know that sounds crazy to have GUI batch programs, but if you look, for example, let's look at their fancy animation one, and let's save this as test.exe. And build it. It's over here. If you run it, you can see this little animation in batch, and it's pretty cool. So you can add that to your batch programs. If you want to make your own, you can go to this graphic wizard here, and you can actually draw these really cool animation things. So it's really cool. Go and check it out. I guess that concludes this tutorial, so please stay tuned for the next one. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Links will be in the description. And I guess that's all. From Technology Crazy, goodbye.